Thank you everyone for what's been a really fascinating committee meeting today. Firstly, I mean, and obviously a lot of things have been covered. I'd just like to say in relation to Birdwatch Ireland, I sometimes think, if birds could vote, how different policies might be, because it is great, and look, it's great to hear yourself, Una, talking about it being an exciting time, because when you look down through the list of things that have moved from green to amber and amber to red, it feels a little bit overwhelming, to say the least. And so, if you a couple of points there, I think it's great to see those results-based schemes, that they are having an impact, and what more can be done around that. And really, are we looking at pure investment at this stage to support farmers? And I suppose the same would apply to peatlands. In relation then to yourself, Mr. Purser, obviously continuous cover is gold standard. And what are we talking about when we're talking about silver standard? Because sometimes that can get left out. And I think, maybe that'll come out in the wash with Project Woodland. But what would you suggest there that's going to get us some way, but it might not be the actual gold standard of what we're looking for in forestry, because we are obviously in a crisis forestry wise, really from a production and felling perspective, but also from a biodiversity perspective. And I was interested in one of the points that you mentioned there about it not being so much to do with the type of forestry, but actually how it's processed and, the soil. Do you have any comments to make around soil and around the kind of investment that we need to do in our soils in order to ensure that forestry is doing the best job it can? I know organics is one thing that you mentioned there, but look, an awful lot of the question, the other things for yourself, Dr. Farrell, I think have been covered, and I think one of the concerns that we probably have as a committee is how fast this can happen in order to get us to where we need to be climate-wise when we are looking at sequestration and taking that into account. But thank you very much to everyone. I'm very conscious of the time as well.
Okay, thank you, Senator O'Reilly. I don't think there was a question for Birdwatch Ireland there.
Well, I just will make one comment. I'll just make a comment in that, I mean, in the last year in particular, but prior to that, and I would say it goes back to the whole Heritage Bill campaign, when we saw the public response to the proposed weakening of the laws that were protecting breeding birds, the response was phenomenal. And in the last year, we have seen people really return to birds and return to nature in a way for respite and just to get away from the kind of bad news and the sad news that we're hearing all the time. And, that's been reflected in membership increase at Birdwatch Ireland, but a huge increase in nature generally. And so I think the tide has turned, and I think the public are behind measures, they're behind initiatives. They want to see change, they want to see restored biodiversity, and they want to tackle climate change as well. So that's where I see the hope. I really do see this as an exciting time, because if you were to look at the red list, it is pretty depressing, but I really think that there's momentum there, and I know with all of you deputies and senators as well, the momentum is there for you to help us along the way to get to where we need to be.
Thank you. Now I'll go to Dr. Farrell.
Yeah, just to comment on the how soon is now, how fast can all of this happen. And I think that, with coordinated and strategic approach, the science is there, the basic framework from which that we can build and target. And then it's to move into the engagement phase. And, like Una said, I mean, this is an exciting time, because, farmers are realizing that, the works that they're doing, it's not really aligning with what they know is right for the environment as well. So the appetite is there, but they need the incentives.
Thank you. And Mr. Purser?
I mean, your question, Senator O'Reilly, in relation to silver standard, it's a difficult one to answer. There's lots of different types of woodland, and I mean, if your priority is biodiversity and promoting biodiversity, then native woodlands is definitely the they want to prioritise. The difficulty is on the economic side. We're asking private landowners to deliver the forestry programme at the moment. And many are planting native woodlands. I planted 11 new native woodlands myself this year on behalf of private owners. But that's a huge gesture on their part for the country. And there's no economic reason for doing so. And that's the difficulty. So if you want, that's why when we talk about forest management, we try and talk about delivering on sustainably on all three of the cornerstones, which are ecology, economics, and the social aspect of it. And there's different systems. So the CCF system is able to deliver those functions in a balanced way, because we continue timber production through the harvesting of timber and selling it into the timber industries. But by not clear felling the forest, we're retaining the forest ecosystem and allowing it to evolve and develop. And we're storing carbon, locking carbon the whole time. In terms of a bronze standard, if you want, like there are, and I referred to it in the previous answer, there are situations where it's not possible to transform a plantation forest in the current rotation. So it would need to be felled according to using best felling practice and so on, and redesigned and restructured and replanted. There's lots of forests in that situation in this country at the moment, which are simply not possible to transform. Just in relation to the question on soils, the way we invest in soils is actually if the site is suitable for forestry. Now, there are soils, and again, refer back to the presentation and some of the legacy issues. But the sites or the soils that are suitable for forestry, the way we invest in them is by planting them in a diverse way. So if you plant a monoculture, you're not respecting the soil, because you end up with a very simple structure bit under the ground or beneath the ground, and that's not good. You need a diverse structure underground as well as overground, and that's what the soil will indicate first of all and benefit from secondly. So it's not through any actual action we do directly with the soil, it's through the secondary benefit of having trees planted, a diverse species planted on the soil.
Okay, thank you for that, Mr. Purser.